schools throughout the country. Just imagine 50,000 kids letting off steam, making as much noise as they like without any fear of getting ticked off. It's a sort of license to shrill. Well, good afternoon, and apart from wanting to shout quiet every now and again, these Schoolboy Internationals at Wembley are really great value. And what's more, we usually win them, and with quite a bit of style as well. Watch this.
Well, Ritchie's been sound enough, the Scottish centre-back. Basically just three players at the back, Corwell, Ritchie and Nicholson. And the system's working reasonably well as Gallen gets round the back and tries to punish them, and Murray has given England the lead, the captain.
Well, that's the first time really that England's managed to get round the back of Scotland, and you know, as I was saying about Gallen, he's a good player, and he got round the big centre back, knocked it back with a little bit of luck, hit the defender on the way, but well tucked away by Murray.
Against the run of play, in all honesty, since the start of the second half. And the Scots can feel a bit aggrieved about that, but here's good play now by Irving. Oh, it's a great little run. Oh, a tremendous goal! Richard Irving! At any level, that was a cracker! Laidlaw looks for Harper, it drops here, and there's a real danger, and Fotheringham has scored, and the Scots have got one back.
Well, the road from Wembley to wherever certainly isn't paved with gold. There are no guarantees that the next step will be a career in professional football, so occasions such as these really are ones to savour, maybe a momentary glance perhaps towards the Royal Box at some stage, and wonder what it's like to lift the FA Cup. What is it like to lift the FA Cup?
It's a tremendous feeling out, and I'm sure, as you said, the boys today will be looking forward to this game very much indeed. As you say as well, it's a very long road for them. These are the best players in the country at this present time, and they got a lot to show for themselves. And as that last game shows, them the goals that were scored there, I think would grace any game here at Wembley. But no, it's a great day for them and also for their families.
Well, for those of you who don't recognise him, we're delighted to welcome the Spurs captain, Gary Mabbott, to the programme this afternoon, the man who lifted the cup for Spurs just a few weeks ago. I mean, I suppose it doesn't seem like yesterday to you being back here, does it? It
does. Seems like just like yesterday, you're right. It was a tremendous occasion, and I think the disappointment of 1987 when we lost here to Coventry, I think we're all made up for 2 or 3 weeks ago, because it was a tremendous day, and as you're going up those steps to pick up that cup, as you say, it's any boy's dream. It's a cliche to say it, but that is true, and to do it was a tremendous feeling.
The amazing thing is, very few of them actually go on to play for the full England team. So let's just have a look and see how the full England team got on this morning in their tour of Australia and New Zealand. So it's 100% Gary, 3 wins out of 3. They scored 2 goals this time through Stuart Pearce, your adversary of a couple of weeks ago, and a first for Sheffield Wednesday's David Hirst. England beating New Zealand then by 2-0 in Wellington this morning. Well, Wembley saw a fair bit of action last weekend with the end-of-season playoff finals. 3 days of nerve-wracking football. The efforts of a whole season resting on the outcome of one match for those 6 teams. The agony and the ecstasy in a 3-part serialisation. Blackpool's last appearance at Wembley was 38 years ago in the famous Matthews final of '53. Even reaching the playoffs this season was a minor miracle. They were in the bottom 6 shortly before Christmas. A great revival, and once Groves had put them in front, a place in the 3rd division looked to be their reward. Blackpool had dominated the first 20 minutes, but Torquay, who were looking for a place in the 3rd division for the first time in 19 years, equalised through their courageous skipper Wes Saunders, who was playing for much of the game with a head wound. Blackpool had gambled by including their top scorer Dave Bamber, who'd been out of action for the previous 6 weeks with 2 different injuries and a virus. The game turned out to be a personal disaster for him, conceding the penalty that led to Torquay's second. Dean Edwards the scorer. Well, Bamber also had a goal ruled out for offside, but there was an even greater moment of agony lying cruelly in store for him. The Seasiders took the game into extra time with a combination of the spectacular and the bizarre. Tremendous overhead kick was tipped onto the crossbar by Howells, and Chris Curran, all of a flutter, turned the ball into his own net. Well, no goals in extra time, so it went to a penalty shootout. Now, what a way to decide promotion. It came down to the last 2 kicks. Torquay goalkeeper Gareth Howells, brother of Spurs David, the centre of attraction. scoring, and then facing the luckless Bamba with the kick to keep Blackpool in the reckoning. A lottery is the only way to describe this, really a game of Russian roulette. But Bamba's luck was out. Well done Torquay though, and to their manager John Impey, who was youth coach at the start of the season. Tranmere were returning to Wembley a week after losing the Leyland Daft Trophy against Lumacari's Birmingham. Tranmere's Chris Malkin didn't start the match, but after coming on as a sub, he finished it. The game had gone into extra time. Rovers got the goal they justly deserved. Malkin keeping his cool and firing Tranmere into the second division for the first time in 53 years. Notts County were back at Wembley 12 months after winning promotion to the second division via the playoffs. They were the favourites against Brighton and never looked anything less after Tommy Johnson had given them an early lead. They play powerful football, County, a real handful for any side, as Gary discovered on the road to Wembley last season. Regis holding the ball up well for Johnson to get his second. Well, it was all over really before Regis got the third himself, and an orthodox Chester. But who cares? Certainly not Neil Warnock, who's since turned down the chance of managing Chelsea. Well, Brighton's consolation came from Dean Wilkins, but it's Notts County joining Oldham, West Ham and Sheffield Wednesday in the First Division next season. Well, it really does look as if it's going to be a cracking First Division next season, a Super League, dare I say. How do you think County will get on? You had a couple of fierce games with them in the FA Cup.
Yes, I think, in fact, looking at all the games there, I think also we played Blackpool in the FA Cup as well in the third round up at Blackpool, and I must say very fortunate to get through up there. It was a very bad conditions, and on the day I think it was a sheer lottery and any team could have got through. Fortunately for us, we got the goal and we went through. Took us to the Notts County game, and we knew it would be a tough game. They've been doing very well in the league, and it proved to be the case. They've taken the lead against us, gone 1-0 up with a tremendous goal by the full-back, and we really had to fight hard to get back in the game. And at half-time we were sort of behind, and deservedly so.
Yeah, I think overall on the tyre, certain Mr. Gascoigne had a big say in it, didn't he? We know how he is at the moment, but I must clear up very early on. I mean, you've had an operation, haven't you, recently, or a treatment on an injury? How are you fully fit now? Ready to go?
I'm recuperating. I had a hernia operation after the cup final, which was about 10 days ago. So, yes, I'd been carrying it for most of the season. I actually did it last November, so I managed to get through the season, and thankfully got it all sorted out now. Should be fit for pre-season training in about 5 weeks' time. Cool. Soon comes round.
It doesn't hard, doesn't it? Anyway, we'll talk again shortly, Gary, because we got today's curtain raiser at Wembley. It's an annual affair. The schools under 11 final, 10,000 schools entered the competition. Of course, we're down to the last two, and they are from the northwest, the Normanton Junior School from Derby, and the southeast area champions, Ocklynge School from Eastbourne. Normanton are in the red. Commentary is by Ian St John and Brian Moore, and we're joining the game in the second half.
Well, it was a goalless first half, and as Elton was saying, Normanton are in the red, and there's a terrific effort there by the number 2, Philip Belsey, which put the Eastbourne lads into the lead. Ocklynge Junior School from Victoria Drive, Eastbourne in East Sussex. Just to clear it all up, the beaten semi-finalists were the Alphington Combined School from Alphington in Devon and the Broomfield Primary School from East Goscote in Leicestershire. So the lads from sunny Sussex take a lead early in the second half. Though to be fair, the Normanton Junior School from Derbyshire had played some good football, and their captain, a tall young lad, Daniel Davidson, looked the best of the players. Number 6 on the ball there, but the shots fumbled a little bit by the goalkeeper, Gareth Manton. This is the 13th season this under-11s competition has been held for the Smith's Crisps Cup. Not the easiest trophy for commentators to deal with.
Get your teeth back in, Brian.
But this young number 6 looks quite a player, doesn't he?
Yeah, very skillful.
Daniel Davidson. That was a good hook away there in the Eastbourne defence. And the number 3 there, Vance Rainford's shot, making very little progress. Nearly 10,000 schools competed in this. The last 4 getting through to Wembley today.
Actually, the Reds have had most of the game, and they've had 1 or 2 chances, really. But unfortunate to be behind at the moment.
It's a competition that Smith's Crisps, in fact, try to do it the right way. They get, I think Trevor Brooking is one of their consultants, John Hollins, the former Chelsea manager, is another one.
I am for the Scottish schools.
And you are for the Scottish schools.
And the Irish schools as well. Can speak a bit of Irish.
Good tackle there by the captain of Eastbourne, John Piercy. As you're saying, the lads from Derbyshire looking as though they're having more of the game, but they're still this goal down. Played in a really good spirit, as you always find on these schoolboy days here at the end of a long, long season at Wembley.
It's a penalty kick. It's got the penalty, but I thought rather harsh.
It's a tough one to me, but no arguing. There's a rather upset young player there, but certainly no arguing amongst the players. And the fellow I was talking about, Daniel Davidson, the captain, stepping up in the last seconds now of this game and scores comfortably to make it 1-1. In fact, there goes the final whistle. And the final of the Smith's Crisps Cup, Normanton 1, Ocklynge 1. The teams going up together to receive the cup from Mr. Ray Carter, the chairman of the ESFA, and Tony Hunt of Smith's Crisps. A nice touch, 1-1 the final score.
Yeah, not a bad outcome, that, is it? No winners, but no losers either. No one deserves to lose at Wembley on a day like today. Well, our guest of honour at Wembley today has been involved in the coaching of junior footballers all over the world after retiring as a player somewhat prematurely at the ripe old age of 50. Who else? Sir Stanley Matthews.
Sir Stanley, it's great to see you at Wembley again. And your first schoolboy international, I think, was way back, though, in 1929.
Brian, yes, it was in 1929. I think I played against Wales at Bournemouth. I think we won, but apparently I didn't play so well because I wasn't selected in the next match.
You played just one schoolboy, did you?
One schoolboy.
Did you? But of course you are always remembered for a certain match here in 1953, the Matthews final.
No, don't let's talk about that.
Really?
Yeah. Let's talk about the young players today.
Yes.
Why don't you want to talk about that particularly, Stanley?
Not really. I think it's been overplayed.
And yet so many people have such wonderful memories of that victory of Blackpool's over Bolton and
Brian,
Stanley Mortenson's hat-trick and the rest of it.
Well, Brian, I don't think I was the hero. I think Stan Morton was the hero because he scored 3 goals. The media who made it my final.
Have you always felt that?
Always.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was so sad we lost Stanley a couple of weeks ago when he died.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
He was a charming man, a great man. Yeah.
And a very, very good striker.
Oh, he was, talk about fast. He was like a whippet.
Yes.
He was so quick.
Yes.
For the 20 yards, you couldn't catch him.
Yes.
But the thing about him, he was courageous.
Yes.
Half a chance he was there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Great memories.
Yeah.
But you want to talk about the players of today. Who are the players of today, Stanley, that most catch your eye?
I don't mean the players of today. I mean these young players who are playing today.
Yes.
The England players, the 11 players. It doesn't say they're going to be stars. They're up and down. Yeah. And I think when I played in 1929, I was the only one who made it.
Really?
And I think if you go through the records, it doesn't say they're going to be, if they're stars today, they're going to be stars in 5 or 6 years. Everything can go wrong for them.
There's an awful lot of work they have to do between Schoolboy International and into the pro game.
They have to work hard.
Yeah. Can I bring you on to, though, do you enjoy watching the game today at the professional level?
Yes, I do. I think the fans make it more exciting. When the team has a corner, it's exciting. In the old days, they used to say, well, kick it out for a corner, they won't score. But the crowd makes it exciting.
Yes.
And when you're attacking and the defender takes it away and you have a throw-in, you're playing well, you're forced to throw in.
Yes. And of course, there's so much spotlight, as there was really in your day as well, on the likes of Paul Gascoigne and Gary Lineker and co. What do you feel about the quality of these players?
Gascoigne, Paul, he can play, he's a good player, there's no doubt about it. He can find himself space. which is always a hallmark of a good player. And he has that space. He finds himself space. He's a very good player. But I think he should behave himself once or twice.
Yes. Something you always did, Sir Stanley, and it's fabulous to see you here, and I hope you have a wonderful day with the Schoolboys today.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for talking to us, Stanley.
Thank you.
Well, it'll be a great thrill for everyone who meets Sir Stan today. Retired at 50, Gary, and reckons he should have gone on maybe a couple of years longer.
Oh, definitely. Still looking very well, isn't he? And Stanley's great, I think, for the game. I think been a great ambassador ever since, throughout his career, but never since as well. A true gentleman.
Well, he's been all over the world, coaching youngsters. That's why it's such a big thrill for him to be here today. He's been to Malta, Canada, South Africa, you name it. He's been there. How boots will travel.
That's right. I think since he finished playing, I think obviously with his experience and the name he made for himself, quite rightly so, he's been around the world quite a lot, and so mainly involved with the training of children, and the expertise that he's got himself, to pass it on. I think that's great.
Okay. Well, incidentally, if you've never actually visited Wembley, here's an ideal chance. The Wembley Tours is back in business. There we are, that's the sticker. It means you can come and see the marvellous complex here, the famous Wembley Stadium, and here's the little bus that takes you around, rather like a mini train. And if you would like to take advantage of the Wembley Tours, we do actually have 1,000 free pairs of tickets on offer. It's not a competition, this. All you've got to do is write to Wembley Stadium Tours, Wembley Stadium, Middlesex, HA9 ODW, and if you're one of the first 1,000 to write in, you'll get a free pair of tickets for the Wembley Stadium Tours. But the main event this afternoon is, of course, England Schoolboys against West Germany Schoolboys. They should be appearing any moment. Is this your first international of its type, Gary?
No, I think it's my second. I actually came to Wembley with my brother when we were actual schoolboys ourselves in about 1971, I think it was. But then in 1974, my brother actually came to Wembley to play for the England schoolboy team. And that was a great day out. I think all of the family came, and had a very, very proud mum and dad that day, and a very proud brother, I think.
Did he manage to score? He was a great goal scorer, Kevin, wasn't he?
Yes, Kevin was a no-goal scorer, and he did actually score a tremendous shot. It hit the crossbar and hit the goalkeeper on the back and rebounded in. But I think it was a great day for him, and one he'll always remember, and I'm sure these boys will today.
And were you nice and subdued at that moment when brother Kevin scored?
I was on top of my seat.
All the kids tend to react like that here at Wembley on these occasions, and it is a marvellous occasion for these lads, and especially against the old rivals West Germany. It is West Germany, by the way. The unification of Germany doesn't extend to the respective schools' federations as yet, so it's not a mistake saying West Germany. But what a marvellous occasion for these youngsters wearing the white of England against West Germany today.
Yes, of course. It's it's great for them walking out there here at Wembley, and as you said before, for themselves coming out. I mean, I remember myself, my actual debut for England was against West Germany here at Wembley, so that's memories of that as well. But as you say, old rivals, and I'm sure they are very, very nervous at the moment, but very, very proud of themselves, but also, say, in the stands, even prouder, I think, mums and dads.
Obviously, they have the ability, that goes without saying, but so few actually go through and play professional football. I mean, what have you got to do to sort of progress from this stage to the professional stage?
Well, it's a difficult transition, really. I think these players are the best 11 in the country at the moment, but as lads grow up, I think they have different times of sort of progressing through, and different times of developing in their football, and also in their physique as well. And some players develop older than others, or when they get older, they're better players. And it's very difficult for them, but I think also as they get older, if they've got the application, the dedication to be a footballer, that's where I think the difference does come, because that's what you really need. And as young boys go to 14, 15 sort of age, other attractions come to them, like going down to the pub or going out with a girlfriend. They should perhaps coaching and learning the game still. So they get other attractions, but as long as the dedication is there, I think that's what they've got to need. That's what they've got to work out.
OK, Gary, for the time being, thanks very much indeed. We're going to hear the national anthems, and after that we'll be joining once again in St John and Brian Moore.
Mr Ray Carter, Chairman of the English Schools Football Association. To the Chief Guest, Sir Stanley Matthews. To Herr J. Albrecht, Delegation Leader of the German Football Association. And Mr N. Harrison, Marketing Director of Smith's Crisp.
Well, before we get the national anthems, good afternoon to you again from Ian St John and myself. The teams presented to Sir Stanley Matthews in the pink tie there, along with Mr Ray Carter, the Chairman of the English Schools Football Association. To just wonder how many of these German youngsters will know of the illustrious Sir Stanley Matthews. A good many of them, because wherever you travel abroad, they seem to know of 2 English players. Bobby Charlton's one.
Yes.
And the older ones say, well, what about Sir Stanley? And in fact, there's a very nice quote, actually, Ian, in the chairman's message in the programme today, talking about Sir Stanley. And I think it's on a monument to him up in the Potteries, where it says his name is symbolic of the beauty of the game, his fame tireless, and his international, his sportsmanship and modesty universally acclaimed. And they are the perfect words for arguably the greatest ever footballer, the man who's just going to go out of our picture there if we're not careful. The man who arguably is the greatest player that we've ever produced.
Well, he was a wonderful player, Stanley, and to play to age 50 was phenomenal. But he was so dedicated. He trained and he looked after himself, and you know, he always felt it could even have gone on a little bit longer. And when you think of 50, you're, oh dear me. But he's been a great ambassador for the game, and coached all over the world as well, didn't he?
That's right. And it was interesting talking to him as I did that little interview with him just now. He didn't want to talk about the Matthews final at all, you know. No, he said that. So they talk about it being a Matthews final. It wasn't a Matthews final, it was the Mortensen final.
I think it was built up that way because everyone wanted Stanley to get a Cup Winners' medal. Right. And you get so few opportunities to come to Wembley in the FA Cup. And people were just wanting him to get it, and he turned on a wonderful display. I remember watching the game, the first cup final I ever watched up in Scotland. We little black and white set. We all climbed into somebody's house. And,
me too.
We watched it, and then everybody ran out after it, and we all became Stanley Matthews and Stan Mortensen.
I'm sure everybody will forgive us not talking about the players at the moment. We'll have time enough to talk about them, but the man who's the guest of honour today is really something. And he was such a great sportsman. I mean, he used to be clattered around a little bit because fullbacks could tackle. But I think, you know, when you think of the great sportsmanship of Matthews, you think of maybe the great sportsmanship of some of the great players through the years, like Tom Finney, and Bobby Moore, and Bobby Charlton, and Gary Lineker, and indeed our guest today with Elton there, Gary Mabbott. I mean, there are some great players who are also great sportsmen, and he was one of the greatest.
I mean, it takes all kinds, doesn't it, to make up a football team, and everyone can't be the same.
Are you defending yourself?
No, I'm just saying. I didn't win any sportsman's award.
But 76 years old, and I must say, it's just wonderful. And you get a real shiver of anticipation every time you see Stanley Matthews. If only you could see that number 7 on the back of his shirt there and gliding down those touchlines.
Ladies and gentlemen,
okay, let's now put those memories aside for a moment. It's time for the national anthem.
From West Germany and England.
seniors and a junior theme right through the day. Our music today coming from the Leicester Castle Salvation Army Young People's Band. Well, they've done it. Right, let's get down to business now. And the first, we have to check on the two teams. England playing in white, of course. Here's the England side. Every one of these under-15s tied to a leading professional club. The captain's the number 4, Nathan Murray from Newcastle. The most successful striker is the number 10, Kevin Gallen. 5 goals for England this season. He's with Queen's Park Rangers. And let's just see how they'll line up. It's a side beaten only once this season. That was by Wales in international competition. And so that's the England setup. In a moment, we'll bring you the West German side. Although 2 of the side, in fact, come from East Germany. So, in fact, it's a combined German side here today. Those 2 are the goalkeeper, Connie Wieland, and the number 4, Marcel Fench. And they also line up a very confident side indeed. Like England, beaten only once this season. Referee is David Allison of Leicester, of Lancashire rather, of Lancaster, indeed. It's a sunny day here. The last time I did a game, Saint, with David Allison, he was reminding me, was when Greavesy and I were perched on the roof in Sunderland. In totally different conditions, I can tell you.
You're slightly warmer today. I actually was at a dinner up in Rochdale recently, and he was there. We had a chat about that this morning.
A good quality referee for what should be a good quality game. It's one that's enjoyed always by our live audience. It has been for quite a number of years now, and the format's usually the same. They usually try to play to patterns for the first 3/4 of the game, and then very often this famous Wembley turf just takes a little bit of energy out of their legs, and the mistakes begin to creep in, and the excitement with it over the last 15 or 20 minutes.
I've noticed one of the linesmen with a knee strapping there. So he's injured before we start. I'm looking forward to this game, Brian, because the Scotland match was a cracker. I have to say I thought Scotland were a bit unlucky in that one, but England played well. They're an exciting team, and I'm sure we'll get a few goals this afternoon.
Well, a crowd approaching 50,000 here at Wembley this afternoon. And the number 10, Kevin Gallen, about to kick off for England. Alongside him is David Johnson. England keep to squad numbers. Johnson, in fact, wearing number 15. So England in white, the West Germans in green. And David Allison gets the ball, the game underway. Stanley Bowler, the England right back. Number 3 for West Germany, Bochler. West Germans came here a couple of seasons ago and really played well that day, beating England by 3 goals to 1. But in return, the English lads went abroad to Germany last season and won by 4 goals to 0 in the Olympic Stadium in Berlin. So the record between the two is usually it's fairly even, Stephen. Lehmann, who's the sweeper, big blonde number 2, René Hahn. 6, this checker. And slicing that ball into touch for a throw to England. So saying England beaten only once by Wales down in Newport this season. They've won 4 of the 6, beating Northern Ireland, Scotland, as Ian was telling you a moment ago, Switzerland, and a terrific victory away in Belgium by 5 goals to 1. Knocked forward there by Tony Vaughan, left back. A throw to the West Germans. Taken by Hahn. Leave it to Hintz. And again to the number 7, Venman. Flicked to the outside of the boot, a long way back to his goalkeeper Wieland. Lehmann instantly settling into a pattern, Ian, with the sweeper Lehmann, the West Germans.
Yes, I mean they always do that at all levels of football, Brian, the Germans.
England's throw.